Hi Chris, how are you?
Hi Roger, yeah, very well. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm having terrible deja vu that we've already recorded a podcast today, though.
Yeah, we are recording episode 219, which will come out around the 7th of April, a week ahead of schedule. So if we've missed any exciting news, I mean, Apple may release the Apple TV, the Mac Studio, the HomePods. These are all in the hopper. Now they've just killed the Mac Pros we talked about in last week's episode. It does feel like the Mac Studio update might come out soon. I don't know.
Yeah, they need to give us that. There's a few things they need to update. The Mac Studio obviously needs the Ultra, or is it the Max chip? I forget. The naming convention's so bad. Does Max top Ultra?
No, Ultra's the daddy, but the Mac Studio has both the Max and the Ultra in it.
Yeah, so we need to see that. We need to see the Ultra Max versions of the M5 in that, because it's a couple of generations behind, I'm thinking, at this point. It's like an M3 that's in there?
No, the Studio's got the M4 Max, but it's got the M3 Ultra, so a bit weird.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah,
I'm hoping with
weird.
the M5, it feels like they're going to do it. It feels like all the products are going to get M5. And so this will be the year where all the Mac products make sense, possibly. Because every time I think they're going to do it, like they nearly got there with the M4, and then they chucked the M3 Ultra in the Studio. So I'm hoping they're going to do that, because it would be good for them to have like a reset where all the products are being updated. They all make sense to go out and buy.
Can we say iMac?
I think the iMac will get done at some point. It feels like it.
Give us a bigger screen, Apple. That could be a great little computer.
Is anybody buying it?
That is a good question. I don't see a lot of them out in the world, I got to say.
Is it going to go the way of the Mac Pro?
They're going to kill the iMac. I mean, that would be bold. If you think all the products that brought them back, when Steve Jobs came back, the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone will be the only one really left standing, won't it?
That didn't really bring them back, though. They were already back before the iPhone came out.
The iMac brought them back.
The iMac and the iPod brought them back. The iPhone was the literal icing on the cake.
I like what you did there.
Icing. There you go. We're on it. Should we dive into follow-up then?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about the weather. Let's see last episode if you want to know what the weather's like. Let's do follow-up. So first up, we have news that Samsung, as Google has done, is bringing AirDrop to its quick share functionality. So if you've got a Samsung phone, or an S26 phone at least, you'll be able to AirDrop to iPhone people. That's pretty cool, I got to say.
It is pretty cool. Do you think people are going to use it, though? Because it's taken so long to come. It kind of feels like... I don't use it a huge amount, AirDrop. It feels like if it had come out 10 years ago, maybe, but people just text stuff on WhatsApp now, and connectivity is so much quicker. It just feels like this is all a bit late.
Also, AirDrop isn't always that reliable, and they keep moving the goalposts of how you can AirDrop to people. So you're like, oh, turn it on, allow it for 24 minutes, 24 hours, allow this. Oh, are you in my contact? It's complicated.
Yeah, it feels a bit weird magical how it works. When it works, it's like, oh, this is amazing, and then sometimes it's like, why can't I AirDrop you this? So I'm not sure. Like I say, I think the cloud infrastructure's got so good. This feels like you don't need it so much now.
It's just a nice feature to have. It's a tick thing. It's a tick in a tick box, isn't it? You know, if you've got an iPhone using friends or Samsung using friends, you'll be able to do this thing when you're out in a group. Because I don't know if you've been in a situation where you've got a group photo and all the networks are down, and you still want to share the photo because you're going to forget to do it later. AirDrop can be really useful in that scenario.
I'll just wait. Somebody will remind me. It'll be fine.
For a high-tech guy, you can be very low-tech sometimes.
100%. I think just because I
Anyway.
can't be bothered with it.
I think this is a good thing, and it fascinates me that what is a closed protocol, AirDrop, Android companies seem to be crowbarring open, whereas the thing we're using now, FaceTime, which Steve Jobs said was going to be an open thing that was going to be everywhere, isn't.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That was a while ago, hey?
There are still some things floating around in my head, but FaceTime was meant to be a completely open source protocol. Steve promised us, man.
You know, we spoke about the iPhone 4 the other week. I think FaceTime launched with the iPhone 4 because wasn't that the first one to have the front-facing camera?
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. If you want it, you can have Quick Share, which will work with AirDrop on your Galaxy S26, which will also work with a thing on the latest Google Pixels. I think it's only the Google Pixel 10 that supports it. So I think it's a good thing.
Agreed. I just think people won't use it.
Yep. Something else that may also end up being a good thing is apparently there's internal Microsoft ructions about making people have a Microsoft account to sign up.
Good, because I think this is dumb. But maybe
100%
maybe
good.
that's just me. So it's good, but will anything actually happen? I don't know. This sort of change is hard, right?
Given what we talked about last week, where we've now got age verification on iOS, Microsoft are going to be made to put age verification into their operating systems as well, and that's exactly the way for them to do it, isn't it? You make sure everybody's got an account, you sign into that, therefore you're able to download from the App Store or access porn or whatever it is that they're going to want you to do in order to have an account.
Stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid, but already having an account is stupid, and I'm glad that there's whispers of some pushback within the company, because the Windows 11 setup process is one of the most painful, awful things I've ever had to go through.
Yeah, I don't do it very often, I must confess, so I'm quite lucky there, I guess, but I don't disagree with that. There's a lot of hurdles.
I don't. As an exercise, it's worth trying to do it in a VM and just timing yourself, even on bare metal, how long it takes to actually get through from the point of, right, I've installed the operating system and it does that reboot and it says, we're just getting a few things ready for you, and the screen goes black and there's some animations. Set a stopwatch going at that point. So don't time the actual install. That doesn't take very long. It's all the whatever it's doing in the background at that point when you have to set up your Microsoft account. Say, no, I don't want Xbox Live. Say, no, I don't want OneDrive. Say, no, I don't want Microsoft 365 trial, and whatever else they're pushing in your face.
Track your location, give us, analytics.
Yeah. We'd like to serve you better ads, all that stuff. So I'm really glad this is coming along. And I know that enterprise users don't ever see this, but have something in mind for the little person that's just bought a laptop and they want to set it up quickly and get running with it.
Yep. No, agreed. This is dumb.
Something else that I don't know if it's dumb, but we were talking about court things that seem to be going in sensible directions before, and I'm still not sure what to make of this. But we reported a couple of weeks back on Anthropic being booted out of the Pentagon because they wouldn't take the guardrails off their AI for killer drones or whatever it was that they wanted to do. However, there's an ongoing legal fight now, unsurprisingly, where the American legal system, or a judge, has stated that Anthropic shouldn't be barred from taking part in the Pentagon just because it's got some guardrails on. So far, it seems like a lot of the decisions are going against the Trump government.
Which feels logical, but it's dumb that you can't use it because it's got guardrails on. Like, you can't use it because it's trying to be safe and do the right thing. It just seems bonkers.
It says in here that Pete Hesgeth from the Defense Department. I thought it was the War Department now.
I did think that too, so I don't really know what that's about. Maybe they haven't renamed that bit yet.
I was about to go off on one off topic there, but I won't do that. I mean, if you're a supplier to the military, which I've got deep reservations about in lots of ways, but you can understand why a company would be. It gets them lots of money. You've got to push back against it. If you're barred for what could be legally dubious reasons, then you're already a supplier. The technology is already in use in various arms of the military, as it would be in the United States. I'm not surprised Anthropic are pushing back hard against it. And given my experience of Claude and the way I've used it, I've been quite impressed with it so far. So if it's helping them write better presentations for battle plans, great. Or maybe not great, but I don't really want them sticking this stuff in bombs.
Agreed.
And then, also sticking with legal news, we have what's been described as a game-changing moment for social media. So this is a landmark ruling in the United States against Meta and Google about them peddling addiction, basically, to children. So as a jury in LA has delivered a damning verdict for two of the world's most popular digital platforms, Instagram and YouTube, so that's Facebook and Google in this cases, where they must now pay $6 million, £4.5 million in damages to a young woman who claims the platforms left her with body dysmorphia, depression, and suicidal thoughts. This could be quite a big deal.
Yeah, this could be huge, right? It did blow my mind when I read a book about Meta. I can't think what it was called now. It was the orange book. You'd have seen it in the shelves. It's about an employee that worked at Meta. And basically, the stuff they do to just get more people, and it's not like Mark Zuckerberg hasn't got all the money. Why do they need to have all these bad practices? I just don't understand it. I don't understand that world of having no principles and just chasing all the money when you've already got all the money. And this just shows that what it is a landmark case, I think, because it shows something we've known all along. I purposely don't use social media. I try and encourage my children not to use social media. I just think it's a waste of time. So, it's going to be curious to see what the actual outcome of this will be.
Google says YouTube is not a social network, is sort of a statement that leapt off the page to me here. I think anything that algorithmically supplies you content based on what you've done previously is effectively a social network, because you're engineering the people who make use of your platform in a particular way. YouTube absolutely is an algorithm. Instagram absolutely is an algorithm. So This is landmark, and I suspect it won't get much further. There'll be a lot of pushback on this from the companies, because if one person is claiming this amount, how many people are about to come out of the? I won't say they would work, because these are victims, who've been embroiled in these kinds of things. Quite rightly, should be looking for some sort of recompense for what has been done to them.
I completely agree, and I think these companies exist on their algorithms, don't they? That's how they've got so gigantic and kept their engagement up, is by harvesting all this data of what people watch and then serving them the next thing to watch.
Yeah, and doom scrolling is very much a thing. If you walk on any train in the UK, how many people are doing anything other than scrolling their phones?
Yep, you see it all the time. Occasionally somebody might read a book.
Very occasionally.
But they will be the odd one out.
Yeah. I spent 5.5 hours on a train coming back from Sheffield earlier this week, and I saw a lot of people on their phones. I was one of them.
I normally sit on my iPad. I'm either working, doing the puzzles in the newspaper with my Apple Pencil, which I quite enjoy, or watching a film. But I don't have social media to doom scroll on, so I'm good.
Well, I did get bored of it and then played a lot of Slay the Spire 2 instead, because it was after 6 o'clock and I had enough work for the day.
That's fair enough.
Do you want to tell us about your experiences with a MacBook Neo?
Yeah, so I went into an Apple store because I wanted to see a MacBook Neo. I want to see the studio displays. So I've gone and done that. So I went and played with the Neo, and I really want to see the blue one, the Indigo one, because if I were to buy one, that's the one I'd buy. So when I'd look at it, the colour, lovely, would be right up my street. And a bit of colour, but again, not too bright if you want it in a board meeting or what have you. Keyboard I thought looked awesome with a slight tinge on the white. I don't know how you explain it. It's like a white keyboard that is got the colour tinge to go with the case. I don't know if that's fair. So it has like a bluish, greyish tinge to it. And I thought it looked really good. Felt nice, the keyboard. Trackpad. Didn't like the trackpad.
Really?
Really didn't like the trackpad. Really didn't like
what
the trackpad.
way?
Just felt cheap. Just that haptic trackpad on my I was just looking around to see if I had my MacBook Air with me. Just feels amazing. And then I tried this out and I was like, I don't like it. Just didn't like the trackpad at all. Which I didn't think I'd be that bothered about, by the way. I'm not a trackpad connoisseur or snob. Really didn't like it. Also the weight. She's heavy. She's as heavy as my MacBook Air. And my MacBook Air is a bit bigger, so it's a bit more spread out. It just felt too heavy. It was quite dense for all it is. So I was a little disappointed with the weight. I was very disappointed with the trackpad, which is good because it means I won't buy one and try and make it fit into my lifestyle. So that was my feedback. But the OS running on it, amazing. The look of the thing, amazing. So they've made a lot of right decisions, but for me the trackpad is the wrong decision and it is just too heavy. I think if this was a bit lighter, better trackpad, but then maybe that's them making a 12-inch MacBook Pro rather than a Neo aimed at to be the cheaper product.
Possibly. I'm surprised at what you say about the trackpad. I haven't. People have commented on the fact that it's an actual click and not a haptic one, but other than that, everybody seems quite happy with it. It's funny. I got given this to repair, which is an Intel era butterfly keyboard MacBook Air, and I'm not going to be able to do much with it because, frankly, it came with Sonoma, so that gives you an idea how old it was. And it's pretty grim looking at it. This trackpad has not changed very much. This is a haptic trackpad on this, and I can't click it. I can't do anything. So it's weird that they've gone back. If you think we had haptic trackpads going back to this generation of computer and before it,
which is good 8 years ago, if not 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm surprised they made this choice to go with that, really. But, there we go. I haven't held one of these yet. I haven't touched one of these yet. I'm quite interested to have a go because I would buy the cheapest possible one of these. I don't feel you need the Touch ID. I'd get the cheapest possible one with the education discount. You don't need a big hard drive. I think it's got USB-C 3, USB 3 at the back, just fast enough, 10 megabits per second, something like that, to plug in an external disk. You can power it just about off that other port, or plug in a dongle and give yourself a couple of things. I don't see the point in going for the bigger hard drive and having Touch ID. Touch ID is not that big a deal to me. But you're right though. I think as long as it's got a half decent keyboard and a half decent trackpad, because that's how you interface with a laptop, that's sort of the killer thing. So I'm interested in trying that out for myself.
Yeah, I'd like you to try it and see if you concur or not with me. But I just didn't like the trackpad at all. Like I say, I'm glad I don't like it because I don't need to buy it. I've got an M4 Air, which is fantastic. I was just interested because it looked a bit smaller, but it hasn't got the lightness to go with it. But it is a cracking device, and don't get me wrong, most people should buy this. This would be ideal for my wife. She edits Word documents, browses the internet. This would be ideal for her.
Fair enough.
Next up, just very briefly, I wanted just to touch on the two Steward displays. So while I was in the Apple Store, I went and had a look at the Steward displays, because why wouldn't I? I've got a 2022 Steward display in front of me. I'm regretting that I never bought the height adjustable stand, but it did cost a lot of money at the time. But it is lovely. The height adjustable stand is lovely. I should have bought it, but I didn't. So I went and tried out both the Steward displays. So I tried out the Steward display regular, which is basically a new model of what I've got. I think it's roughly the same panel, but slightly brighter. And it's got Thunderbolt 5 on it, which most people wouldn't notice, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't notice that. I think it is 100 nits brighter, so almost nothing. And it also has an upgraded webcam, right?
Yep, I think that's right, but we're using my webcam at the moment, and I'm in a nice light room. I think it actually works pretty well. I've certainly had no negative feedback, and usually a lot of work. It looked okay, but I'll be honest, if you put both the screens next to each other, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I think it might be a slightly thinner case. That's the only thing that I had noticed. But on the whole, it's a lovely looking screen. It's just too expensive. And then I went and looked at the Steward Display XDR, which I couldn't tell the difference on the screen. Now, annoyingly, the screens weren't next to each other. They were behind each other. So I couldn't do a side-by-side, which was a little annoying. It looked nice. It had the height adjustable stand, which is lovely. It's got the Thunderbolt 5. It's got this amazing tandem mini LED. No, it's not tandem. It's just a mini LED screen in it. And it looked nice. But for me, I don't think I'd notice a difference. And I'm glad I didn't, because it means I don't want to go and spend £3,000 on anything. So I actually left the Apple Store feeling like the Neo, great product, not for me because I've already got a laptop, which performance-wise is probably better than it, even though it's a year old. Steward Display base model, I've already got that, not worth buying a new one. Steward Display XDR, couldn't tell the difference, definitely not worth twice the price. So I was a bit on their new products, and I didn't even really go look at the Air or the iPhone 17e because they're not products that I would buy anyway at this point. So I think they've done. I'm glad they're updating stuff and not leaving it lying around, but none of these were for me.
I really struggle with this. I think the XDR is a downgrade on what was there before. You went from a 6K 32-inch thing to a 27-inch 5K thing. So was 6K a real problem from the sport? Is there no use case for 6K? Is that sort of the financial decision they've made there? So that's fine. At least it's got...
If it was 6K, I could see myself being in a world where I'm like, can I afford this?
Yeah, I vaguely get that, but it's the size as much as anything else to me that people expect a bigger screen. And, the existing XDR customers aren't going to rush to buy this particular thing. I don't know if there's a film production or something like that. I mean, it's clearly a better panel because it's got lots of dimming zones, but it's not OLED. You think OLEDs, if you want true black and reproduction, OLED is where you want to be. The most expensive TVs with the best performance, with the highest refresh rates, are OLED panels. What's going on?
What is mad, though, is these screens have got better chips in it than the MacBook Neo around the corner. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I'm not in the market for either. I've been quite happy with my bank panel I'm sat in front with. If I did want 5K, I'd upgrade to the Asus Vivo Pro or whatever it's called, 6K version, and I'd want a 32-inch screen. Yep. With at least 120 hertz resolution for less money.
That's probably where I'm at. I think I would get the bank screen that I've been looking at. It's a 6K one. I think the aesthetics would annoy me, but I think the rest of it would be completely fine.
Yep. Should we do some news?
Let's do the news.
Apple Business has sort of tried to reintegrate itself. So this isn't a side of Apple I know an awful lot about, I will be honest. That I'm familiar with the education side of it, I'm familiar with the consumer side of it, but when I hear people talk about Apple Business, there's obviously a suite of tools that they previously offered that would let you do stuff. So people, I think, have business supply specialists in Apple stores, or they can ring up and be given advice about how to do device management and that kind of stuff. And it sounds like it has had quite a confusing suite of non-integrated tools. However, in the last 2 weeks at this point, they've tried to bring these things together, unifying all of their tools under a particular single brand. So the business tools were, you had Apple Business Manager, you had Apple Business Essentials, you had Apple Business Connect, and for example, that is how you manage your brand in Maps and other devices and things like that. And they brought it together under one package, seems to be the thing, as of April the 14th.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever used on this in a corporate space is when you buy iPhones, iPads that they say managed by the company at the bottom, and you enroll them in it. And what's really good is when an employee leaves the organisation, you can wipe it and take ownership of it, even if they're signed into an Apple account because it's a corporately owned device. Whereas historically, if somebody left the organisation and they hadn't signed out their device, you then got a bricked device in essence because you couldn't use it because it was locked to that person unless you could get them to unlock it after they'd left. That was the real big benefit that we had in my last place. I haven't used a lot of the other tools. Looks quite good. I mean, it's free for less than 200 users. That's pretty good for a small business getting going, maybe. And obviously, they're trying to get you on a bit of lock-in, I'm guessing here. So it looks interesting, but not something I don't think either of us are going to play with.
No, and the MDM, sort of multiple or mobile device management, is a huge part of most workforces, be it a Windows machine or a Mac or an iOS phone. You need to be able to manage the devices that you give your people. So I get that. There are other alternatives for doing that. I think Microsoft have one. The company called Jamf make one. MDM has been a thing for a long time. So it kind of makes sense, as you say, that Apple sort of puts it under one banner and then they can charge you a subscription as well. I think AppleCare for Business, that's AppleCare Plus. I'm trying to find the actual subscription prices. You can get additional storage for your users at 99p per user per month. Where is the actual monthly rate for putting a customer on this? It's going to be, $5 or $6, I would have thought.
Yeah, no idea. I haven't seen that, I don't think.
Yeah, so there will be an ongoing cost for this in the same way all these companies do. Now, you can spin up open source versions of this, and I used to use one of Oracle's ones, I can't remember the name of it, that they would offer for free where you could enroll them. Mira, I want to say Mira, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, you can spin up an open source version of this. It makes it quite hard to do. Obviously, Apple will give you just buy it all from us and we'll make things right for you. So I think it makes sense that they're putting all these into one place.
Yeah, feels like things have grown organically and they're pulling it all back in. So yeah, fair play. I thought I saw it then. So it's starting at $6.99 a month.
Right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So AppleCare Plus for Business is available per user at $6.99 per month or $13.99 per month, covering up to 3 devices. So if you go, I think if you're a small shop, this makes sense.
Agreed. Well, and especially if you're in the Apple world, why wouldn't you do this?
Yeah. One other sort of slightly odd thing that came out from this is Apple Maps is getting a slightly different brand. They're going to allow advertising from the Small Business Connect thing directly into the Maps app on iPhone. I think that's a bit... I'm not sure how I feel about Apple doing advertising in the map.
Oh, Apple advertising generally is never nice, is it? They've never really got a good approach to it. I think what's interesting here, though, is obviously a lot of companies need to publish their company in Apple Maps, and then what you're going to be able to do here is advertise, but you're not going to be able to compete. So if somebody types in Microsoft and you're looking for where the office is in Reading or London, you can't then have Apple pop up as a competitor to Microsoft. So you can you're only advertising for your words, if you see what I mean. You can't advertise for your competitors' words, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it feels a bit risky. But I don't know how many people use Apple Maps. I think everybody uses CarPlay, doesn't actually realize you can use anything else in many ways. Whenever I see other vehicles driving along, I only ever see Apple Maps in there. So a bunch of ads suddenly appearing that might piss people off. It might push people
I think
to
it's
where
more
they expect it.
when you're using it on your phone. I think that's where it's going to be.
I don't know. You've never used Waze Maps, have you?
I have, but not for a long time. I find it quite needy when you use it in the car now.
Yeah, you stop at traffic lights and it says, by the way, there's a Greg's over there. You might want a bacon roll.
Does it do that?
Yeah.
I won't use that.
Is what it is. The other last sort of point about that, and I can't find the actual link to the article at the moment, is that this Apple Business Essentials will actually bundle in email as well. So as part of your users will get their 5 gigs of iCloud space and actually be able to use Apple Mail as your corporate mail provider. Don't do that.
I use it for my home email.
Don't do that.
It's all right.
The tools are terrible. Apple Mail is a terrible piece of software.
Yeah, it's not fantastic. But you can use it in any app. So we use it, the 4 of us in our house. The only thing I did want to set was a distribution list, like for the house, so that when I set up the water bill, the electricity bill, rather than it just go to me, can it go to my partner as well? But you can't seem to do that with the Apple Home implementation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, have you tried to set up a distribution list in Modern Outlook?
Nope.
You can't.
Oh.
So it's not just Apple Mail that doesn't do that. Classic Outlook on Windows on Macs used to support distribution lists. Doesn't in the current version.
Wow. This is the problem with the new version of Outlook, I think, and we are struggling to get people to move over to it at work.
Yeah, the world is not what it was.
Agreed.
Something you may want, though, on your next phone is, we obviously talked last week about getting a standalone Siri app, but maybe we'll have a standalone Ask Siri button as well. I don't want that on my phone.
Isn't that just the power button, push and hold, like we do now, and have done for the last 10 years?
I mean, that sounds like it, but who knows what this particular rumour is. I mean, it's one of Mark Gurman's rumours. They quite often come true, don't they? So, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Do you find it ironic that we spent all that time getting rid of the home button to just introduce more buttons around the periphery of the phone?
Is it me, or is the camera control been a complete waste of time as well?
I think the camera control is fantastic because I can push one button, launch the camera, and push the button again and take a photo. Do I use any other functionality with it? No.
But I can do that. I can press one button and launch the camera and have another button and take a photo of it, and I don't have camera control.
Yeah, but now I can turn my torch on.
Whoopty.
I agree with you. I think camera control, very, very clever, but could have just been a simple button and 99% of people would have been happy.
I disagree that it's very clever. I just think it's just another button. They're just, you watch, give it another 10 years, we'll have BlackBerries again.
Is that where we're going? All roads lead to being a BlackBerry.
It feels like it. Just wang a blooming keyboard back on there.
Wait till they bring back, what was it, the blue and red button, and then the like blue buttons underneath, I think it was, where you just had buttons that could become anything depending on the app you're in.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to degrade into grumpy old man mode in a minute. One thing that might make me grumpy, though, is Google getting rid of your website. This is an amazing story. So this is a patent that Google put out January 27, 2026, titled AI-generated content page tailored to a specific user. What it basically does is Google will have a butcher's at your website, and if it decides it's not good enough, it'll make up its own website based on what's there. That's incredibly awfully bad.
Yeah, so here you go. I'm a small business. I've spent ages crafting my website. Google doesn't think it ranks very well. So they could, and this is just a patent, they're not actually doing this, but it could then just go, your website's rubbish, we've rewritten it for you, and this is what we're going to serve to users because yours we don't believe adds any value. So somebody's making a judgment call on your identity, on your wording. I think this is horrific, and that's not what the web was about.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see it all filtering into their AI slopified view of the world, though. They're just translating your website into their content, and they want it to look the way that it looks, and it's just horrendous. Presumably, they'll inject their own advertising and things into it as well. Then.
You've got to assume. This is awful. There's no good in here, is there?
I knew you'd like this. I found this story specifically for you because I knew you used to build a lot of websites.
Yeah, I did used to build a lot of websites, yeah. So this is partly why I got out of building websites, because you could see where the world was going, right? Like most people should just go get Squarespace, build their own website, or something akin to that. But this is just madness.
It's absolute madness. Yeah, it scares me. It scares me. One thing that doesn't scare me is competitors to Sonos and multi-room audio and things like that. Denon is a good audio brand. They've just dropped a couple of new speakers called the Home 200 is one of them, but they're home speakers. The first one starts at $400. They're very Sonos-like, but Denon has audio chops. You know, they've been in the market for a long time. They make good sounding things. These will be speakers you can pair around the place. 200 has 3 drivers, 3 amplifiers for room filling sound. The 200 is a sort of Sonos Move equivalent, and then there's a sound bar as well. So I think these look quite interesting, and they're priced quite competitively.
Yep, I would agree. I like Denon. I used to have some Denon stuff myself, so yeah, it looks quite. I've kind of stayed out of Sonos, and I probably wouldn't rush to get into Sonos at this point. So yeah, I think these are kind of cool.
No, I'm always interested in competitors. I'm not throwing away my Sonos stuff anytime soon. The app's just got good again. It works again. It's responsive. It's taken a long time. It is good news. So I'm still a big fan of my Sonos stuff, and they used to do things right. I mean, I used to think of them as the Apple of audio stuff, but maybe I should be giving Denon the side eye here.
Yep. No, they look good.
Yep. There we go. Media?
Let's do the media.
We don't have a lot to talk about in media, so I'm just going to talk about the one thing that's I've become bizarrely obsessed with. Have I mentioned before I started watching The Rookie?
No. What's The Rookie?
So The Rookie is a procedural cop TV show, which you can get on Disney Plus in the UK, starring Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion is the ultimate genre actor in many ways. He's famous for Firefly and Buffy. He appears as Guy Gibson in the new Superman film. He's a very likable, watchable. He's in something else, Castle Bones, one of those.
I don't know, but I think you did mention it, but we haven't really discussed it.
Yeah, so it's a police procedural set in Los Angeles. He's a 40-year-old guy who gets divorced and decides as a life-changing event he's going to go and join the LAPD as a rookie. So it's like old man goes and tries new thing. Okay. Every week it's a bit like the A-Team used to be. There's like a gunfight and you don't really see a lot of blood or bullets. You do sometimes a little bit. It's got a good sense of humor. It's quite well done. The characters are well developed. I'm sure it's going to go downhill. But if you want something I don't want to think all that hard about, just sit on in the background, and it's going to give you a bit of a laugh, or you're going to think, oh, I wonder if that's how they actually do things in LA. It looks really good as well. Modern video cameras and stage design and things like that are really, really good, and it's fun.
Okay, no, yeah, sounds good. I just haven't got time to commit to another TV show. I think I do need to plan something to watch on the aeroplane though, so maybe that's what I need to think about and download something.
I got one word for you.
Go on.
Taskmaster.
Yeah, we spoke about Taskmaster in the last episode.
No, but that's what you download to watch on the plane.
Okay. You can catch up with whatever ones I've missed out on.
Yeah, you download a bunch of them off 4OD or whatever it's called these days, and you just when I flew to Chicago last year, I just downloaded 2 seasons of Taskmaster, and that did me there and on the way back. It was perfect.
Fair enough. You are showing your age by saying 4OD though.
What? What's it just? Is it just Channel 4?
It's just Channel 4, yeah. But it used to be 4 on demand, didn't it?
It did. You watched anything?
Nope.
You got to step it up, Chris.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just really struggling for time.
You're going to come back and tell us about 2 seasons of Taskmaster that you watched on the plane, or some film from 10 years ago that you decided to watch again.
I actually want to watch one battle after another.
Yeah, that's on my queue.
I've got it. I bought it on Apple TV store. It's sat there. I just haven't watched it.
You need to sort it out. Games?
Let's do the games.
Uniquely, I'm going to talk about Slay the Spire 2, just very, very briefly. Last week I talked about a mod that'll let you play against other people, which is quite cool and well done, but obviously an expansion, not what the developers had in place. I have had a chance in the last few days to try out the co-op mod, which lets 2 of you play at the same time against the bad guys, and it's quite an interesting mechanic for an entirely solo based game to suddenly bring in the ability to play someone else. It really does change the dynamic of what goes on in the game, and they've done it really, really well. I've had a couple of goes at it. Fun.
It's quite hard to get that sort of thing right, you'd have thought, because like you say, you're massively changing the dynamic of the game. So fair play if they've managed to introduce it really well.
Yeah, it works quite well, and there's quite a nice thing where if one of you dies during the game and the other player manages to win the fight, you're resurrected, but with 1 hit point. So they managed to do something, and there's sort of other nice things they've built in as well. So one of the concepts of the game is to rest, that you take damage as you go through it, and there's little campfires every so often, and you can rest a bit of your health back. If the person you're playing with is doing particularly well, you can actually choose to give your rest break to them instead, so you can actually heal your teammates too. It's quite a thoughtful mechanic. But the most obvious thing they do is all the beasties you face are doubled in their hit points, so it gets a lot harder to.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess there's 2 of you, right? So
fair's fair, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, Slay the Spire 2. Check it out.
Yes, boss.
You're not going to. And then in other gaming news, you and I both have PlayStation 5s. We enjoy them very much. We play probably far too much Gran Turismo and things like that on there. I don't know how much time do your kids spend in front of it?
Less now. Youngest has got into darts. He still plays on it a reasonable amount, but way less.
Fair enough. Anyway, if you want one now, it's going to cost you another 90 quid because the prices have just been hiked.
I did used to think they were actually reasonable value for money. I'm not surprised they're going up though. Everything's going up, right?
I think compared to a Nintendo Switch, they are good value for money. The back catalogue is far more impressive than a Switch 2.
Oh, I like my Switch 2.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. But
it's very iterative.
Other than the new Mario Kart and the new Pokemon game that's just dropped, and what's the thing I can never remember that didn't actually like that much, Donkey Kong.
I quite like
yeah.
Donkey Kong. What they did do in the more recent software release is if you play Switch 1 games on it, when you're playing them in handheld mode on the Switch 2, it will make it play as if you're in TV mode from the Switch 1. So it'll take a Switch 1 game and pretend it's in TV mode even though it's in handheld mode. So you get usually better resolution and frame rate and stuff, which is quite a nice little software update they've snuck in there.
It's not cheap though, is it? Nintendo Switch 2.
That's £400, isn't it? Here in the UK.
I don't regret having one. I've had a lot of fun with it, but I feel like they're not making the most of it. Where's the software, guys? Where's the games?
Agreed. Agreed. I'm not sure if I'm going to take mine on holiday or not.
Fair enough. Main show?
Yes.
I am not in a position to have solar panels. I would very much like to be in a position to have solar panels, and I know you do, and we'll touch on that in just a second, but part of my inspiration came from watching the Technology Connections video, which dropped about a month ago. Technology Connections, we've talked about in the podcast before. He's a really thoughtful YouTuber who spends a lot of time, engineering crazy solution to things or explaining how things work. His video on You're Being Misled about renewable technology was, I wouldn't call it a game changer. I knew a lot of the concepts in it, but it really made me think about the way things are going. And his fundamental concept of, we have a closed loop when it comes to recycling something. So if you think of your car battery, when you take one of them back in, it can be broken down, smashed apart, brought back to get at almost 100% efficiency to make another car battery. All the harmful things in there, the lithium, all the bits and pieces that are in it, can be recycled almost 100% well. And if you follow that out to its logical conclusion, that will happen with batteries in laptops, that will happen in batteries with electric vehicles, and that will happen in phones and things like that. So with a little bit more work, the fact that we need to get rare earths to make renewable technology, and batteries are where all this falls apart, is going to go away, or we'll be able to do it at such scale that when batteries do come to the end of their usable lifespan of 3,000 charges, 30,000 charges, wherever we get, it's only going to get better. On the flip side of that, we have the ability to charge batteries freely from the sun and freely from wind. Slightly less freely from wind, but certainly from solar panels. And as he went through the video, he then showed me how cheap solar panels had got. Now, you've got solar panels, and ballpark it, Chris. You've had them a few years. How much did it cost you?
It cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like a good Mac Pro specification.
Right, so we're talking in excess of $7,000 at that point, right?
Yeah, more.
Right,
with a battery.
More. Yeah, and when I thought about solar panels 15 years ago, it was about 25,000 quid to get not a lot, I think was probably, what we're talking about. So what's been your experience of running solar panels? Does it make a difference to your bill? Do you recharge back to the grid? What do you do?
Yeah, so we've got about 8 solar panels. We've got a family of 4. We have gas central heating, but everything else is electricity. So we basically fill up the panels in the day, fill up the battery, and then I sell back overnight back to the grid. It takes the edge off our bills, which has been great, obviously, right now because the bills are only going up. It was good when I had an electric car because I could largely charge it for free. And then we make a very small amount of money back per year from the grid, £300, say, per annum, which is tiny.
It's not nothing, though, is it? So I think current rates are about 7 pence per kilowatt hour sold back to the grid.
You probably know more about it than me.
Yeah, because I'm into this stuff at the moment. Anyway, all of this is to say I'm not in a position at the moment to put solar panels on anything. Or at least I didn't think I was. Because you need space, you need roof space, and if you rent, borrow, or live in a shared building, you probably don't have access to the roof to put the panels on. You wouldn't have the ability to modify the electrical grid to put the change in energy into there, or you may not have the garden space in order you want to put up something portable. And what happened over the last 3 years is a phenomenon called plug-in solar. Have you heard of this?
Only through you. So
Right.
I'm not worried about. But my son has also mentioned this to me. My 14-year-old son, because he wants to do a bit of camping, he's like, I can get a solar panel and charge my devices. He's very much into this sort of thing too.
So plug-in solar is a thing that appeared, and it's in Europe it's called balcony solar because fewer people buy their houses; they rent apartments.
Right.
The Netherlands and Germany is full of people who rent apartments. They don't purchase their homes, and in those scenarios, you absolutely can't put solar panels up. So companies started selling kits of 2 solar panels that you could hang on a balcony, and then what are you going to do with that power? Well, you need to plug it in somewhere. So the laws were changed in the countries to allow you to plug directly with an inverter into the wall of your flat.
That's quite cool. As you're talking, I'm thinking, I'm in my shed. I've got a roof on this shed. It's a flat roof. I could, angle some solar panels here and start harvesting.
Yep. So in Europe, you can get a couple of solar panels up to whatever size, and you can feed 800 watt back into your electrical grid just by plugging them directly in with an inverter. You don't need any specialist electricity or anything on there. You just take the output from the inverter, plug it into any wall socket that you've got in your flat or your shed or whatever, and you get power. And the way that it works, and I'm not an electrician, so I will get this wrong, so don't take electrical advice from me, people. And this is in Europe. You plug it in, and the 800 watts coming in is at a slightly higher frequency range, or than what's going on from the grid. If you get volts, so if you get 239 volts from the power company, and you feed 240 volts in effectively from your solar panels, 800 volts, it will go and take from there rather than the electrical grid at that point, and it just works. There's a slight worry about feeding power back in through a circuit breaker rather than out through a circuit breaker because of the way that they're often wired. But in Europe, this is perfectly legal. In Europe, this is perfectly legal. You can just plug this in. While the sun is shining, you can get free energy.
That's quite cool.
It is quite cool, isn't it? So that's led to things like I'm showing on for the YouTube watchers now about the revolution that's taking place across Europe in small solar power generation. Because you think if the grid is at pressure from Coronation Street comes on and everybody boils their kettle used to be the thing when the advert break was on. That's when the grid needs power. But the ability to generate while you're out of the flat or in your flat working from home, while your washing machine's running and your fridge is on, even a small amount of edge off the electricity grid is better for the planet. You're going to burn less fossil fuels, and you can feel a little bit better about saving some money on your bills too.
Yeah, that was our whole reason of if we're going to live here for 10 more years, how do we take the edge off all the bills and become more self-sufficient?
Yeah, so this is it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on European websites about the benefits of plug-in solar. Just hang a couple of panels or a panel on your balcony or lean it against a wall or something like that, and you can start to generate some portion of your electricity independent of the electric grid and take the strain off it and feel, like you're doing a little bit for the planet.
That's cool.
It is cool. But we live in the UK.
We do. But how much do these panels cost, though? Like if you want a couple of panels and an inverter, what's the cost?
I'm coming to that. So in the UK, in the last week, actually, last 2 weeks maybe by the time this podcast goes out, is Ed Miliband, who's the director of renewables or whatever he is for the government, ex-prime ministerial candidate. It looks like that the government is going to make plug-in solar within the UK legal in the next couple of months. So I think there's about to be a bit of a run on this, particularly if you look at what's happening with the petrol prices and oil prices in the UK at the moment. We were a bit worried this wouldn't come to the UK because of our bizarre electrical system. Our 3-pin plugs and our earths and our lives and the way we mix things and the way we wire our panels is different to the rest of Europe. But this is encouraging, and this is from the gov.uk website, that they're going to make something legal within the next few months. So if you have a couple of panels and an inverter, you may be able to crack on and do this at smaller scale. And of course, should you get used to it, you can go to the bigger thing, which is what you've done, which is where you can actually change your electrical, put in a different breaker, put in a smart meter, and actually feed back to the grid as well. And I'm not even talking about batteries here. I'm just talking about making some energy while the sun shines. And you asked the question a minute ago, is what does this cost? Well, this is where it got really, and again, I've got the Technology Connections guy to thank for this. I went to find out how much a solar panel would cost in the UK. Do you want to hazard a guess? If you haven't looked at the link.
I haven't. I don't know. 500 quid?
500 quid for how big a panel? I don't know what you've got on your roof at the moment. How many watts is the panel you've got?
It's about that big.
That's not helpful.
I have no idea.
Okay, so this might blow your mind slightly. If you go to City Plumbing right now and you buy a 515 watt solar panel, that's 91 quid.
That sounds all right.
That's not a lot of money. All right, so I said the most you can feed in a plug-in solar is 800 watts. This is a 515 watt panel, so you need two. So for 200 quid, you need a little bit more. I'm getting to that. You can actually start to, generate your own power for not a huge amount of money. From a balcony solar point of view. And if you buy these in bulk, you can get them even cheaper. You can basically buy a pallet of these kinds of things for less than 1,000 quid. That's going to generate a huge amount of power.
Yeah, that's quite cool,
isn't it? And that's delivered as well.
Bargain.
So that's fine, but what you also need is an inverter. And when I looked, these have actually gone up since I last looked. So you need an inverter, which is what takes the direct current, and I may have this the wrong way around. It takes the direct current from the solar panels and turns them into AC power, which is what we make use of in our homes. So it steps it down. The microinverter will take that power. You can plug the solar panels in directly through a thing called an MPCC, which is what sits at the bottom of the inverter here. I think you can plug in 4 panels into one of these things, and it will take it down to the kind of current that can be accepted by your house and only feed out the 800 volts that is acceptable into plug-in solar. So just that for 130 quid. It was 99 quid when I looked last week. And 2 panels, and you're already able to do the plug-in solar thing. How cool is that?
That's quite cool. So you're saying for about 450 quid, give or take, you could probably have a couple of panels and this.
Yep. And you're off to the races with the ability, while the sun is shining or while it's raining, you could lean a couple of panels, better to mount them somewhere because they might blow away in the wind. They're quite large things. I think they weigh about 20 kilos. But I think this is fascinating for lots of reasons.
I would concur. Like I say, I've got a roof here. I could probably get 4 panels on this roof quite easily. The south facing is that way. So, yeah, why wouldn't I do something like that? It makes it a lot more accessible.
It's an interesting DIY job for you as well. You could get a frame, buy some bits of metal, put something together, stick it on your roof, and you can do it yourself. If and when plug-in solar becomes legal in the UK, there's nothing to stop you doing this, and you'll generate more power for not a lot of money, really.
Yeah, no, that's the interesting thing, for not a lot of money and hopefully no major ongoing costs. And again, a lot more accessible for people to take the edge off their bills.
Yeah, very much so. And then there is the next step of this, which I will hopefully try and show. Whereas you can add batteries to the mix as well, obviously. So when you're out of the house or you're not using it, then you'll want to store that, which is what you've got as well. EcoFlow, who seem to be the sort of main company that's jumped on this at the moment, have a bunch of solutions for this kind of thing. So they've not only got sort of the portable solar batteries that you can, or power stations effectively. So when your son's going camping, he might want a small variant of this to go forward.
He's looked into this sort of stuff.
But you also get a home version as well, and I can't find the product line now. That's very annoying. It's called Power for Home. There we go. Which are more money, and they will sell you the panels too. But these EcoFlow streams, you can they have the inverter built into them, so you don't actually need the inverter as well, and you can plug these directly into the wall and use them in that way. Or you can daisy chain the batteries together. They're not very big batteries. I think they're only 2 kilowatts or something like that. But you can build a bunch of them up. So if you wanted to start, with a system that's going to get you going, EcoFlow, and we're not sponsored by EcoFlow, will sell you panels, an EcoFlow stream, and the ability to do it for 1,200 quid. And you're really then off to the races with the ability to do this plug-in solar thing with a bit of storage. So I'd buy the panels from City Plumbing. They are compatible. There are a couple of things you need to check with solar panels to make sure they're compatible. But this feels like a very attainable way to start a bit of microgeneration and a proper way forward. So I'm really interested in this stuff at the moment. I just wanted to talk about it.
No, I think it looks cool. It certainly looks like it's a lot more obtainable than what it was. Like you said, you looked at it many years ago and it was like 25 grand. I've then spent significantly less than that, but still way more than what we're looking at here. And then you're looking here, say if you went for their biggest one there, it's £2,400, and you can do 0% interest finance on it, so you can spread the cost. So it's actually getting a lot more obtainable. And the joy of this system is you could move it. So if you did move house, you could take it with you. I can't really do that with mine. It is all very much plumbed in, and you wouldn't want to touch it. So I think that looks quite cool, and I like the idea of it because I'm taking the edge off my bills. I'm generating electricity. I'm giving a little bit back. 4 of us living in this house consume a reasonable amount of electricity every day.
Yeah, and that's it exactly. And what you've hit on there is, I think, why this is so popular in the continent. Because if you rent a flat, you're going to move. So you don't want to go through the investment of having to build, and it's the same with your house. If I'm going to go and live in the country and rent a house while I'm moving into my next one, you just pick this up and take it with you, and you're still be able to do that bit. So, it is a bit of an outlay, but as I say, the way energy costs are going at the moment, it might not be that much of one for a little bit of time.
No, and that's why the Klarna things, not that I normally support that kind of thing, but that's normally quite good because it just takes the edge off it, right? You could be paying that off over 12 months or a couple of years, and you're paying 0% interest on it. It just takes the edge off it, but you're actually going to pull all your bills down, and it will pay for itself quite quickly.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about it. It's in my head at the moment, and I almost want to buy the panels, even though it's not legal here at the moment, just before the prices go up.
Yeah, that is always a risk, isn't it?
There we go. App of the week?
Yeah, go on then, Step.
So my app of the week is Simple Wikipedia. If you find Wikipedia a little bit complicated for some of the ways that they do things, I didn't even know this was a thing until very recently. You might find an article particularly difficult to work with, like Neptune. It will actually put it in language that's far easier for you to understand. So if you've got a younger kid or you're trying to get a concept that you're really struggling with, Simple Wikipedia could be your friend and break down some complex subjects even more usefully. So I just think that's quite a cool thing.
I'm a massive Wikipedia fan, user. I did not know this was a thing. So there you go.
There you go. I like to bring new things.
You did. I like it.
Thing of the week.
So I've gone for another Audible book, which I really enjoyed this week. This is by Stanley Tucci, and it's called What I Ate in a Year. And I actually quite enjoyed it. He narrates it, he wrote it, and he obviously likes his food a lot. He's very listenable. He's got a very easy listening voice. I do a subscription with Audible where I get, 20 odd books a year. And so they cost like £4 or £5 a book, not a huge amount, but you get many, many hours of Audible listening for that. And book's really good. I just generally quite enjoyed it. It was nice having an insight into his life. He was filming Conclave at the start of the book, so back in 23. Then he's got a bit about his home life and all the various people he knows and meets and sees. Obviously lives a very different life to the rest of us, but it was a good book. So yeah, would recommend.
I watched one of his. He did like a TV foodies travelogue thing
in Italy.
In Italy.
So in this, he's talking about trying to get it signed to do the second or third series on Disney.
So I watched the one that he did about Venice while I was in Venice, and I went and ate a couple of his recommendations, and it was really good.
Yeah, he loves food. Like he proper likes food. So
the Italian in him definitely comes out, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't really know a lot about him, I must be honest with you. So maybe I need to go watch some of the TV shows. But I enjoyed the book. I thought it was very listenable.
First time I saw him was in ER. He played the intensive care doctor in ER from back in the day.
I didn't know he was in ER. There you go. My favourite film with him is Margin Call, which is about the stock market crash in 2008.
He's in lots of good films. He's in early Marvel as well. He plays the guy that gives Steve Rogers his power as Captain America.
I did not know that. There you go. Apparently, lots of people in the street ask him, "What film have I seen you in?" And his line is, "I'm in quite a lot of films, but it's probably The Devil Wears Prada." And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the film."
That's fair enough. He's in the Hunger Games films as well.
Yeah, no, I have seen him in the Hunger Games. He's in he has a lot of roles, right? He's a very
good actor.
So there you go.
Good actor. I think we call that a show, Chris.
I think so. So if anyone wants to get in contact with us, Rod is at G5Miniac at Marston.Scott. I'm at _CGP at Marston.Social. You can watch on YouTube by going to our website, wakefromsleep.com, and click on the YouTube link. Or you can drop us an email at wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.